What's going on, everybody? We got a special live stream AMA here, joined by my homie Ron, and we've got Russell Mcade, founder, CEO of Mcade, one of my favorite gaming projects, been absolutely killing it, becoming a real leader on base. And there's a ton to talk about, from Club Cade to Drop Zone, which is dropping real soon, to the partnership with Coinbase. I want to get all the alpha today from Russell. What's going on, fellas?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good to see you both again. I call you the Extraction Squad. You seem to get me to sing like a canary on these things. So yeah, it's been a while. I really enjoyed seeing Ron's Christmas hat stream we did about a year and a half ago. It does take me back, and it's been, yeah, as always, it's been a really good journey so far. So yeah, looking forward to catching up with you both.
I don't know when the last time you looked at Twitter was, but I actually posted a clip from that right before the stream to share this stream, a little snippet where we're talking about some other gaming projects and the Mcade community. And I thought that was, when you look back a year and a half ago now, we can talk about this later in the stream, those other gaming projects that we were talking about comparing Mcade to, we were talking about they were much bigger than Mcade at the time, and now there is no comparison to those other projects at Mcade. And we also talked about how strong the community was even back then. So we can talk about that later in the stream, but I thought that clip was relevant. If anybody hadn't checked it out on Twitter, it's only like a minute long that I shared with the
yeah, it's the last thing I saw before I jumped in here, actually, and I was like, "That's awesome! I love it." And yeah, if we take snapshots of our conversations publicly over the last year and a half, my God, it's a lot's changed.
Yeah, but a lot for the better. The market's been rough, but you guys have continued to push forward. And like Ron was saying, the community that you've been able to foster and cultivate, it's not by accident. You've executed really well, I think, over the last year and a half. Let's start with Club Cade, which has just rolled out, and I guess which kind of lends itself towards the building of community and all that. How's that going? It just launched this week. I'm in there. Ron's in there. What's your first impression of Club Cade?
Yeah, it's good. It's literally just the starting point, though. We've managed to enroll, I think, 52 creators, people of influence into the club. Obviously, we're using Towns, which is a base project. We're kind of pushing the limits with them at the moment because of what's not only coming with Club Cade, but what's coming next week as well. We need more capacity, more features. So we certainly put those guys under pressure. And I think they've got a TGE coming up in a week or two as well. So that's been great. Like anything, we hired Spiral as the kind of community lead in there as well. So we've hired a dedicated head to manage that every day. The first campaign around, obviously the leak of the open edition went well. I believe we awarded the first 3 creators today. So we've had our first campaign completion. But when we go on to other things, it'll be crystal clear that the club is going to become very, very busy with choice and campaigns, not only for Mcade, but many other projects. So yeah, democratizing the creator space wasn't necessarily the intent, but we might as well disrupt a few things whilst we're building. And as we've talked about before, there's a real disparity between good quality, authentic people in the space that have, even if the followers are perceived to be smaller, they're far more effective. And we feel it's better to back that group of people rather than a couple of headline names. So yeah, just to start, I think. But I think once we go through the open edition process, I think it gets pretty mad after that.
What's your timeline for adding people? I had someone reached out to ask you that. What's your timeline for the expansion in Club Cade?
I think once the next week is out of the way, I feel that will be the second wave of intake or recruitment into the club. The reason being is we want the club to be a proportionate size to the opportunities that are available. We don't want 100 plus people fighting over one thing. We want a real choice and variety there. And we'll have that post next week. So yeah, for me, I think what's that week commencing the 3rd week of June, we'll be more than likely opening the doors again.
Very nice. As you guys were mentioned on, it was House of Crypto. Peter mentioned you guys on Crypto Banter channel with, I think, was that Kyle Chase on there also? That must have felt
Yes.
good to be on, to get all those eyes. You know, those guys have hundreds of thousands of followers and tons of viewers.
Yeah, it was good because Pete's only really backing 2 projects in gaming, and I agree with the other one as well, My Lonely Planet. But Kyle, I've met before in Dubai and had a brief chat about us, but like many things, many people don't recall. But it was good to get that kind of coverage at that level. But and this is where I start singing like a canary with you two. You'll see a bit more of that probably by the end of the week, I'd imagine. So
there we go.
we're gonna. Yeah. I think we're starting to get picked up in a slightly wider market now. So we'll. It might be at the 11th hour on a Sunday, but I think something good's happening this week.
Before we got on the stream, when we were talking behind the stage or whatever, Russ said that this might be the biggest announcement that Mcade has ever made. So just to put it in perspective.
When we go on to it, the open edition, I think once I explain the thinking, the planning, the general observations in the market, I think the penny's going to drop and people are going to really get what's about to happen next week.
Yeah, I want to get into that. I want the room to warm up a little. Ron, do you want to say something else? Go ahead.
No, just saying Medicaid's really separated themselves from the rest of the pack. You know, moving to base, that was so well done, so smart to do it at that time. Even other influencers and gym finders I know and stuff like that, that's how they kind of found Medicaid. Because a lot of people, they assess it by chain and narrative, you know, and Base is obviously one of the top chains. And then you look at other gaming projects on Base, Medicaid is the clear winner at this time for sure. So that was really good idea. It was really smart to move to Base when we did.
We definitely felt vindicated by that decision. I think what's happened since what is about to happen in September is probably beyond the expectations of anyone building on Base. I think it's going to be a lot bigger than people expect as well. I think in its own right, it probably becomes its own narrative around kind of end of August, September with the Coinbase app upgrade. I think once people truly get their head around it, I think it's going to blow their minds as to what the opportunity is. And I don't think I've done a particularly good job of explaining it in our community yet because we just haven't had the time, but the opportunity is huge. Probably the single biggest opportunity for distribution I've ever seen on a chain, and that comes this September.
How did you link up with Coinbase? How did you guys got the partnership for the L3? You guys were chosen one of, I think, 6 projects. How did that come about?
So our dev team, Quicks and Sahema, were doing a hackathon in Bangkok at DevCon last November. So this is kind of power of the team, really. It was the one thing I didn't go to. And they got to know the Base team. They won that hackathon because they're gigabrains. And they got talking to the team. They went for a couple of drinks, and as you do in real life. And the conversation developed from there. And then when we got back, they were like, look, Coinbase and Base are thinking of doing this. They want us involved in kind of testnet. What do you think? We looked at the commercial viability of it and also what it meant to us from a direction point of view. It all made sense and gave it the green light to go ahead. It was very much their leading of it that created the opportunity. And then, in ETH Denver, it was announced, 6 months later. And we're just fine tuning the chain at the moment because we built some quite complex logic into the tournaments in gangs. It hasn't been the easiest thing to pull on the L3, but we've got 2 teams at Base working on it to resolve the best solution for us to first of all move tournaments onto it. So we're just working through the final parts of that now, and then we'll migrate over. And like I say, no one will notice. It will just be, you'll see a block explorer, you'll see the transactions going through, and you'll start seeing some real activity on the token itself from a chain point of view. But we're just waiting on fixing and finalizing what we call a WebSocket, which I won't bore the audience with.
Thank you. So Gangs of Medicadia, the season 4 will be on the L3.
I think due to the fact we've been delayed on the L3, I think tournaments is the deployment on the L3, and we get that up and running and working and proving that the WebSocket works and the transactions are seamless and there's no issues or downtime. We'll probably run Gangs season 4 on base. The reason being is it's connected to what happens next week. So everything's connected, as you can imagine. Our mind maps are pretty intense, but so yeah, Gangs is likely, because we don't want to delay it anymore. People are keen to get back into Gangs, and we don't want this technical issue to be a delayer. So once we get the next week out of the way, it's likely that Gangs season 4 is deployed on base one last time, and we move it forward for there. But there's also a huge opportunity to turn Gangs into mini apps through Farcast, so there's loads of opportunity there as well. So yeah, the team's likely to grow again.
Very nice. And let's talk about next week, what you guys got cooking here. We got the drop zone. I know it was teased with on Twitter. Open edition NFT drop. What's cooking, brother? Give us the alpha.
Right. So I'll actually get the drop zone up if that's okay.
Yeah.
Screen. Cool. So obviously everyone's fully aware of Max now, which I'll be honest, a lot of what we've done that's kind of turned out well, I was probably against it to start with. I'm of an age where I can't really relate to mascots, but I totally get it now. But yeah, the drop zone is more of a call to arms. We've noticed in the last 2 months that open edition NFT mints and just NFT mints in general in key groups and gaming as well have actually become really quite successful. There was one on Sui today that raised 19 million.
Wow.
And there's also a drinks company called Rekt, REKT, we may have seen. They sold out on their mints in 30 minutes, 120 ETH. So whatever people think of the NFT space, the liquidity is there, and the opportunity to reach a much wider audience is definitely there. And I don't want people to look at us doing an open edition NFT and think it's yet another pivot. There is an underlying strategy around the drop zone, and that is that for a while gaming has been fading and breaking and running out of money and various iterations of these hardcore projects that were raised 50+ million, and they've all closed their doors in the last 2-3 weeks. Gaming needs to be pulled together again, and there are some very, very good projects, but because this market's gone on for so long, you could argue that they don't necessarily have the resources to really go to market. So Cade was the first activation of us realizing that there was a market to gather and to really push in a certain direction. The open edition is very much a reflection of that gaming has got to a point. NFTs are teetering on becoming strong again. Those two markets are very, very closely aligned. So if you take, for example, CyberKongs, if you've been in the market for a while, they have really good gaming mechanics. They've really built out their IP. They're a prime example of a NFT project with gaming utility. And there are a number of these across all different chains. The drop zone is an open edition NFT that anyone from NFT lands, gaming lands, any chain really, will be able to mint super low cost. But it is the opening statement to a series of utilities, a series of access points, loot boxes. This open edition literally unlocks probably our next 12 months and beyond in terms of our partner associations, our Cade activations. This ties everything together. And what it does is it allows a very, very strong compounding effect for projects to truly integrate, look at flywheels where there's value being transferred both ways, and to pull the market together and lead it. And the big players in the space aren't interested. The smaller ones that we started alongside have disappeared. We believe now the market is there to lead, and this type of activation is going to do that. And we've had a huge amount of interest from a partner point of view. This is not a Mcade thing. This is a gaming NFT focus, and we have 20 plus partners already signed in for this. So, and we've still got a week ahead before we go into mints next week. So, yeah, it's very interesting because it unlocks all our infrastructure that we've built, but it also allows communities to roll in, use their NFTs, use their tokens, use the open edition in certain ways to activate all of what we have across all of these communities. So the open edition in summary is heavily loaded with utility. However, I can't state exactly what that is at this point.
So it's going to be utility across an ecosystem of partners potentially?
Yeah. Lots of communities, lots of partners. The open edition will be a tradable NFT. That's key. There'll be an immediate activation or at least one, possibly two, that the open edition, you'll come to our site, you'll connect your wallet, you'll use that, and it will activate certain things on our site, which is being upgraded. And the drop zone is very much the central point of what Mcade is going to become. And it is probably the most efficient collaborative model we think that exists in the space. And the open edition is the right way to attract a much wider audience to Mcade. We've done it with tournaments to a certain extent. We've done it with Superverse on gangs, but that was just kind of scratching the surface. This is a wholesale open edition, which is going to be available cross-chain. It will be minted on Base, but where we're placing the mint, anyone with any wallet on any chain can mint our open edition. And as a result, that's going to bring in a much wider audience to gaming and Mcade. And that's the primary reason, along with the partner collaborations, that we're going down this route.
So thus far, you have 2 partners, you said?
20.
Oh, 20 locked in. Wow. And
across NFT land. And so I started buying up NFTs with a clubcade.base address a few weeks ago. That was the reason. I wanted to understand the culture. I wanted to understand what people wanted, what they were looking to achieve. Base went through a really nice NFT push, but then the volume dropped off 85% in the last 4 weeks. Like Base Junkie covered this yesterday on his stream, and I was like, how can NFTs push to Base became number 1 on NFTs for a period, but it all tailed off because these are all just impulses. There's nothing sustainable that's going to drive this forward unless we do something like this. So yeah, it's a risk, but I think considering the interest in it, I think the mints will go well. I think we'll bring a whole new number of participants into Mcade, onto Base. But more importantly, the open edition activates a whole path of utilities, which will be revealed over time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of power in the technology, NFT technology. It's a matter of harnessing it through creativity and unlocking it. So it sounds like this is exactly what you guys are doing. Are there going to be unique traits?
The open edition is a singular art piece. Imagine operating as a key, and the key itself will show immediate ROI. So in that sense, one of the first activations that it will allow you to do will be more than worth the mint price. And you keep hold of that open edition. It's not something you burn or get rid of. It's tradable. So as the value increases or you choose to disengage, whichever your preference is, you'll be able to sell it on. But what it activates is effectively a door into our ecosystem and our partners' ecosystems. So for me, I think it's probably what maybe some of these NFT gated groups maybe should have done before in a slightly different way, but we're deciding to take them on.
Nice. Ron, what do you think about, you have any questions regarding the drop zone?
Yeah, well, just I think NFTs got abused a little bit by projects over the last couple of years since the bear market, maybe, and a lot of people look at it as a money grab when a project does this. But even though you said you can't get into what the purpose is behind it, you can verify or put out that it's not just a JPEG that's going to sit in the wallet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've got enough of those from the last cycle. I look at my 200 plus JPEGs from the last cycle and reminisce sometimes, but yeah, no, it's this is very, very focused. I mean, we've spent 2.5 years building the infrastructure we have today. We know that infrastructure has been well received by other projects. We know that there's a number of projects that want to scale and want to go to market, but for various reasons, they either can't afford it or they get ripped off or whatever. So we know there's a really big opportunity to pull the whole thing together. The fact that the open edition will remain tradable is key. What it allows you to mint in the immediate term is of high value. We believe in your ongoing relationship with us. This is, we could, in my opinion, we could have easily gone with a higher figure for the mint, but that's not the point here. It's not the money. If there's a good amount of money raised from this mint, we've already discussed with the partners, and I think I can say this, is that we will look to sweep the floor of our NFT partners and make those NFTs available on the tournaments platform. We're going to create flywheels where if an NFT project on base has, I don't know, 5 to 10 like regens with Jed or whatever, has a great opportunity to sweep a floor and buy up supply or buy from treasury from the project that we're partnered with, we will do that. And then we'll initiate various activations across gangs and tournaments and giveaways to give back not only to the community, but bring new participants into their community. And this is our commitment for our partners coming in and supporting us, is that there are flywheels in place to not just build treasury for Mcade, it's to reinvest in our partners and collectively scale. And that's been the biggest feedback from the partners, is like, we'd love to roll in, we'd love to support you, but if you raise a load of money, you're just going to run off into the distance. And it was like, no, because this is how the money's going to be used. And they're kind of shocked by it.
Yeah, and like Danny said, I still do very much believe in NFT technology. I think it got a little bit of a bad rap last cycle. So many people got burned and just like those digital JPEGs. But keep in mind, in real life, I still think the art aspect is a utility with NFTs. I mean, a lot of rich people, they store value. They buy nice paintings and stuff like that as a store of value. So I still think there's a market for that. But there's a lot that can be done with NFT technology. And it makes me excited to know that, okay, well, this isn't just a JPEG. It's going to sit in a wallet and it's moving on to the next evolution in NFTs. And Mcade could be one of the projects that's on the forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think open editions initially were like a moment in time. So people run like Christmas open editions, and they allow you to mint them for free. And it's amazing. People collect these open editions like they're going out of fashion. I think Jed's did one on Ape Chain a few weeks back, and it was a single piece of art. It was to really pull the NFT community together again. And that minted like 10 million units. Like, so it's incredible.
So if they're tradable, right, and people can buy them and sell them on the secondary market, how does the open edition, how does that work with an open edition where people could just buy them outright?
So they'll be capped. So you can buy them and they're only going to be available for 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'll be a very busy sequenced week next week. So there'll be the only time you'll ever be able to buy this and mint them from scratch would be next week from Tuesday onwards. And then that option no longer exists. So however many we mint, that will be the total supply in the market. People will then be able to activate at least one of the utilities pretty almost immediately after. And then you'll see immediately, okay, right, well, I've already got my value. That's the most important thing, is ensuring that there's a quick pace to the outcome, and to make sure people feel that they're immediately getting a value transfer. And if people don't fancy it or choose, people will do what they want to do at the end of the day. But because we want to curate a really quality focused new audience and bring them to Mcade and bring them to gaming and bring them to NFTs, we have to cap what people can mint, because partners coming in want to know that that audience is quality, not quantity. And then as a result, they will be able to offer a lot of value to that open edition community. And it's worth holding that for a long, long time. So, for me, it's really simple. NFTs, as Ron said, the technology is there, but sometimes it's just a simple workflow, which is the open edition opens this door opens this door. And as long as you're well planned and you've got the partners on board, you can do it. If we didn't have our infrastructure, we wouldn't be able to do this. It would be a JPEG scenario, and people would be questioning it 100%.
Yeah, NFTs can do a lot more than just be a JPEG. When it comes to crypto utility, the things that I do believe in this space that can be integrated in our daily lives is NFTs and smart contracts are two big ones. And NFTs, they can do a lot more than just be JPEGs. So it is exciting to know that Mcade's doing this, and it's not, it's potentially next evolution in crypto itself. And NFTs are going to be more than just be a picture.
Yeah, and I think I wish the NFT space had evolved a bit quicker in the physical side. Like I don't know, for example, why when you go to these big crypto events, that more of them aren't token gated, NFT gated, and Luma hasn't done something where you can accrue attendance points and all of that good stuff. I'm kind of surprised that no one's pursued the kind of the soul bound like physical outcomes for NFTs. And Bored Apes did it with the bar and various gated access points, but no one's really followed suit. So for us, the open edition is the starting point. It's certainly not the end story. We have a very clear plan. If we do really well with it, then you're going to see a lot of invested collaboration, which is going to not only help our brand and put us on the map more, but really get some of these projects moving. It's also a great opportunity for us to bring more games to our L3, which is part of the conversation at the moment. All of this drives a new wave of audience into our current community and our partners' communities. And they're out there. I mean, some of the numbers in the last 3 or 4 days from an NFT perspective are eclipsing what's happening in the traditional token world right now. So timing could be good. Yeah.
So this is going to be, the utility will be come out over. Are you announcing the utility piece by piece, or will there be like a roadmap?
Yeah. Well, we want to ensure that people, as Ron exactly pointed out, we want to make sure people don't have to sit there and guess or wonder if there is something behind this, or am I going to get anything from this? We will be phasing or releasing some of the early utility during the back end of this week, over the weekend into next week. And a lot of that's already being built and being set up on the site to be really activated within the week. So this is it's going to happen thick and fast. But that's important so people feel trusted in the whole process. But like I say, I can't tell you the price point, but it's going to be a lot lower than people are expecting, because we want as many people to participate as possible, and we want to build a bigger audience, because right now there's just pockets of communities all over the place wondering what their project they love is going to do. We need to centralize this whole thing.
Yeah, love it. You mentioned the L3. Do you have any partners on board already for that?
We've got 2 games at final stage, which is really decision around. We want to obviously get our tournaments platform on there first, get the chain working, which would be fairly straightforward once this WebSocket piece is sorted. And then for us, it's simple to start with. It's finding games that allow a kind of entry point, a prize pool or reward exit. Start simple. The good thing is, because we've been heading around to all the events physically over the last 2.5 years, we've got a pretty good understanding of who's still building and who's not. And the vast majority of the names you see on CMC don't really turn up to these things, to be honest. Yeah. So we kind of know the right crowd, and that crowd are largely undiscovered. And I think that gives us a bit of an edge. So it does show that if you do turn up to these things, good things happen. And yeah, we've got two that we really like. Timing wise, just want to make sure that the chain's working and ready.
Yeah. And drop zone, you don't have a firm date on that? You have to.
Yeah. So the mints will start next Tuesday. So it's happening next week.
Next week. There you go. Next Tuesday.
And
drop zone.
I've already said too much.
Not yet, brother.
And and I just want to confirm this is sparkling water, not gin and tonic. So I'm not singing like a canary because of that. So it's a Tuesday night. We're next week is the week. The rollout starts soon. You're going to see a lot of kind of information. The site's going to change. Everything is kind of, as you'd imagine, from a go-to-market campaign. There's been a lot of teasing going on. I don't think everyone's enjoyed it. I'm getting a bit beasted in the community for just being like teasing what's coming next. But we're kind of here now. But we've got a hell of a lot to execute between now and next week. So
the thing I like about your teasing, is that you're teasing things that are just about to come. You know what I mean? It's not like you're teasing something and then it's like 6 months pass by and nothing has happened, right?
No.
So that's important, I think, communication wise.
We've done all that when we first started, like when you raise money and you're like, right, we've got to build this thing now.
Right.
That was the longest 6 to 12 months of our lives. So now when we do state something, it's within a fortnight generally.
Yeah, I think that's important communication wise. So this is launching on Tuesday and open, I'm assuming, through the end of the week through Friday.
Yeah. Again, we're doing something I don't think many have done before. So that week is going to be announcement after announcement next week, probably more than ever. That's really all I can say on it at the moment. But looking at what we're very happy about is the fact that we're seeing, like, I don't know if anyone really follows MapleStory. You look at MapleStory, they're like a very successful game as far as Web3 gaming goes. They did an open edition mint on their game 2.5 weeks ago. I believe it was 1.7 million mints.
Wow.
So there's real appetite where there's utility. And that's the most important. The deciding factor here is it's not a pretty picture. It's not a piece of art to say Mcade is celebrating 2.5 years. This is the key that unlocks 2.5 years of work.
Yeah. MetaBoy asked in the comments, I think it's a good question on the topic. Is there can you put out a possible price range on what it would be?
Oh, he's doing such a good job for us as well. He turns up every day with his memes and his image, and I'm going to feel so guilty.
Content is great.
I am so weak on this one. Why? I'm not coming on this channel again. It's under $10.
There we go. Under $10.
Under $10. I mean, everybody can join. It's not
it's in many ways it's an ETH gas fee.
Yeah,
that's the whales.
And that's only because he's turning up every day and nailing it with the memes and Max artwork. So I know I'm seeing all the others roll in now. Oh God, I'm seeing half of you lot in this week in Amsterdam anyway. So I'll talk to you then.
Yeah, what's that going to be like, brother? You're going to red light district or no?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're on a live now. Yeah, of course. That's exactly what we're doing. That's how our community rolls now. No, we're I think there's going to be about 15 of us getting together on Thursday. Fortunately, 2 of our community own a Greek restaurant in Amsterdam, so I'm going there for lunch first to catch up with them, which I normally do when I'm in Amsterdam, and then fortunately, they know an owner of a bar 2 doors down. You know how it works with that side, and they've reserved an area for us. And then I think I'm doing a Spaces about 2 hours into the get together, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, you've been all over, man. Are you tired yet? You've been to Dubai. You went to, I don't, did you go to Portugal? You were in Portugal?
Yeah,
You were in
yeah.
Portugal? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an exhausting process. But married, 2 kids, nothing. Crypto's a walk in the park, isn't it? Let's face it. So yeah, no, but Dubai was particularly exhausting this time round because it was just so hot, and you're in cabs for like 3 hours a day just getting somewhere. So, but yeah, it's worth it because like Pete from House of Crypto, who's a big advocate of ours, I spent a morning with him, catching up, talking about plans for the year, all of that stuff you just can't do otherwise. So it is worth it. I used to get accused of just using the money to go traveling when we first started, and now people are starting to realize it's actually part of running this business.
Yeah, the networking is so important and making connections with people. At the end of the day, it's all about connecting with, it's a human experience and connecting with people and building together. So
I seriously doubt to have the L3 on Coinbase if he didn't go to all these events.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and after what 2 years of treading the pavements, as we call it, going to all of these events, to have more kind of private, kind of I wouldn't say higher tier, but meeting people you normally wouldn't meet, that started to happen quite a bit this year, which is just a sign of we were nowhere at some point, and now we're getting somewhere. We're certainly not anywhere near finished, but we're certainly being invited to the right things now, which we would have to knock on the door and beg to get to before. So
yeah,
it's all part of it's all part of growing into the space, isn't it? Really, and also being a good risk reward, and people look at us and say, "Wow, you've actually stuck around for 2.5 years and outlived everyone." So yeah, it's an interesting one, but I do think this lethargy and these studios turning away right now is probably a blessing for us.
we talked earlier about how many have dropped off in May, running out of financial runway. How are you guys on that?
Good. I mean, if we stood still tomorrow, and I think I stated this on my last day, mate, we're good for a year or two, like 2 years to be precise, if we just didn't do anything extra. So yeah, I feel very comfortable with where we're at. We have we've adopted a very like bootstrap mentality. Fended off a lot of decisions where community, of course, at times through frustration, and 2.5 years being part of a token project is unheard of, probably. But there's a sense of all of us. This is probably my third longest relationship in my life with this Mcade community. So yeah, it's personal, as you can imagine now. There's no way it can't be personal after all that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good on run rate. We can cut back if we need to, but we don't. We've got a brilliant team and we make key changes. Like we're currently finishing off the hiring of a mini app team, focusing on the Coinbase app upgrade. So we're going to be adding there. We're doing things that people can't do anymore because this market has just exhausted them financially, and also people are just not. They're just waiting for the wave to hit and to help them get back on their feet. And I don't know if that's. I don't think that's the plan. I think it's a hopium piece, and I feel sorry for them, particularly the ones that have gone out with best intent and really want to build. But this is an expensive business to be in, and if you're not careful, you'll get ripped off before you know it.
Yep. Max, we touched on Max a little earlier, and you said you didn't like the idea. I loved the Max when I first saw him because, people, it creates an identity. It helps cultivate creativity and unlock creativity within the community. And then he can also be a playable character. Do you guys have big plans for Max?
Yeah, full rollout. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's two things that Serge initially proposed that I kind of gave a hard no to, that we've done Cade and Max. So just for anyone out there thinking that they know it all, put your ego in a box, because it's I've realized the biggest lesson I will say is the more I step out of thinking I have a good idea and just embrace others. This is the reason why we're here. I've worked in businesses where I've really driven my ideas home, and I look back now and think, actually, that wasn't the right approach at all. I just need to shut up. And Max was definitely a great shout. Club Cade's a great shout. What we're about to do next week is definitely it's a mix of everyone, the advisory board, us, what we've learned, what we're seeing. I feel next week is like a real collective conviction on what we're looking to achieve, and Max definitely is the lead character in a lot of what we're going to do. AI is allowing characters to come to life quicker. We're rolling out sticker sets across the boards. We've got a Giphy account set up. Like we're going full bore on Max, because I don't know about you, but every time I look at X now, it's rare I don't see him, and that for me is proof of concept.
That's branding. Yeah, that's the power of branding.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Danny. It's like there's other gaming projects that do okay, but Medicaid's even taken a step further with the branding aspect. And I said this, I have a Medicaid thread that's pinned at the top of my X account, and it talks about their marketing and just the way they go about it's always smooth. It's just been on point the whole time, and this is like the next evolution in that with the branding of Max, and it gives people something to make the content with. It gives the Meta Boys making all these Max memes and stuff all the time. It gives people a character to create that content. And just to piggyback off the last thing you're talking about, the gaming projects in the space, because me and Danny have talked about this with Chuck with the meme space as well. We think the washout ultimately is good for the good projects that come out on the other side. If there's this big of a pie for the gaming project, well, now instead of splitting that, 1,000 ways, it's getting split 50 ways, or same thing. Same thing with meme coins. We're kind of glad that so many of them are going to wash out and not come out the other side like Chuck will. So that's I think, and it goes back to what I was posting, the clip I posted on Twitter before. I don't think there's anything wrong with mentioning these other projects. I was during the bear market, I got in on the launches of Mcade, and playable games and games for a living. And during the early stages, I don't know if you want to call it a bear market rally, the early stages of the bull market, whatever, October 2023, those two projects had massive pumps. Our good playable did, especially. And Mcade wasn't at that level. They weren't, they were doing okay, but they weren't up there like playable and games for a living. Now, there's not even a comparison between Mcade and those other two projects. And I'm not trying to down the other ones. I sold out completely out of games for a living, and I was in it from the launch, and I put it in Mcade. I thought gaming was going to be the number one narrative this cycle going into it. And I think, probably AI and RWA would be bigger narratives, but I still put gaming as third. But I'm surprised, as big as I was on gaming going into the cycle, how few gaming holds I actually have now. I got a few others just to hedge my bets other than Mcade, but I only have a big position in Mcade. Then I got 2 or 3 others. That's it. Maybe 4 gaming holds. That's it.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I'm in it every day. And I was a purist around gaming being the leading narrative. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done this. But in the last 12 months, that's shifted in a wholesale way. And I started to get into a conversation with KOL the other day on X, which you saw. Yeah. But I do believe that there's this reset of expectation that gaming has to go through, which is I can't believe that this is this pass or fail. If I don't build a AAA game that breaks the back of the largest market in the world and everyone loves us, then we either close shop or we don't pivot or we don't do anything else. I think I wouldn't say it's naivety, because you've got to be careful. But I'm surprised at how many are going after this big, Hail Mary success story. When I don't believe we're close as an industry to getting to that. People are talking about the billion users coming through a AAA game that breaks the back, off the grid. No, the next billion users comes through the Coinbase app when it upgrades in September. And you can put mini apps and games into that, and you become part of a daily habit for consumers. That's the edge, that's the play, and that's what we're doing. We're never going to build a game of mass sophistication. It's not our skill set, and we wouldn't have a clue how to manage a budget to deliver it. But for me, it's forming part of a consumer behavior is the formula here, and I think Coinbase offers that opportunity. I think the other projects you mentioned, Ron, probably had the right plans, but this has been a long market, and the players aren't there. People want to assess a gaming project on the amount of players they have. I hate to break it to people, that's one part of the story you need to play, and it's the purity of a successful gaming project isn't about the number of players. It's a small part of the overall positioning, and I think very few understand that.
I'll say, especially some of the numbers that these other projects put out of how many people are playing their game. That's not, it's bots. It's not people at all. There's not hundreds of thousands of people or whatever playing their game.
And it won't matter soon, because I was at the AVAC summit 2 weeks ago, and really good panel. And it was all about AI agents within games. So now that the whole people can spin up games with AI, but you can also build agents that can play when you're not around. So the whole player metric thing probably goes out the window by the end of the year. And you're probably going to have games literally being played by agents on behalf of you whilst you're at work. And that, for me, I still can't get my head around it fully, but that's the direction the market's going. So people will be able to spin up games, vibe coding, they'll be able to drop agents into it, and it will cost them $2,000 to do it, whereas these studios are burning through 60 mil and closing their doors. So there's a big shift coming.
I think there was just too many gaming projects, but you can make the argument that all gaming project coins have utility. I think you can make that argument, because if they're integrated in the game's successful. But it's still the biggest, or one of the biggest markets in the world, gaming. And Mcade, whatever happens in this market, this cycle, how high things go, nobody can tell you. I can't tell you your favorite. Nobody knows the kind of market caps gaming is going to have. But Mcade has separated themselves as a project that's going to be a winner for this cycle in the gaming space.
Yeah, if we position, in my opinion, if the only way I can give almost a guarantee that will grow to a reasonable size is this Coinbase upgrade. I keep talking about it, but the ability to put small versions of your games in a social feed to 100 million users, 18 million daily users, who are going to be able to engage with base projects from day one and not leave the app. I don't think that's dropped for many yet. If you're a base project and not building mini apps, you're done. You're not going to get exponential growth out of this opportunity. So for me, it's mini apps. The social thread is going to be key, and because Coinbase acquired Spindle back Q4 last year, there's going to be a paid ads opportunity inside the Coinbase app for base projects and other projects as well. So that becomes your funnel for everything that everyone's been working on. And if you're not doubling down on that, I think you get left behind.
What's the timeline for that upgrade?
It's in paper. Everyone's testing it at the moment. I think we're probably looking around an end of August if you're lucky, probably early September release.
So it might line up with On-Chain Summit. Yeah.
I think there's probably, they've got 60 plus engineers on it.
Yeah.
So they're going all in on this. This is something they're not going to allow to fail, in my opinion. And that's why everyone really, if you're a base project that can learn mini apps, one of our team joined Base to develop the mini app community and the developer. So, hey, she's leading that charge now, and I'm seeing her tomorrow evening for dinner. I'm going to get the whole kind of understanding of what the goals are, the scope. They're making it super easy to spin up mini app. You'll be able to drop Chuck and other characters into small experiences and have that right inside the app where millions of people are going to see Chuck for the first time,
Yeah.
So huge opportunity. Huge opportunity.
Again.
Pardon?
Making gaming great again.
Exactly. And gaming, in my opinion, is small daily experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We need to know we need to understand where we're at in the food chain right now, I think.
And how's it going with Jamie King? Is he still on as an advisor? And what's his role like these days?
Yeah, he's good. He's more call upon when needed, which you generally find when you have advisors for a while.
Yeah.
Dan's the same. Dan's over at NFC in Lisbon, flying the flag this week. So yeah, they're very much at the beginning. Everyone's all in on streams and everything, but Jamie's juggling a number of things, but remains a true Metacader. And yeah, he's good. He's enjoying New York and got his head around this space now, which is good. It took us all a while, but yeah, no, they're all good. Yeah, the advisory board is pretty solid. The core team's likely to grow again, which, considering the closures, gives at least people an indication of our appetite to take over.
What are your numbers at now in terms of your personnel?
14, like consistently, but with 2 additional agencies now on top of Surge, which are doing various design for us. Avark are now more involved with us as well, who did our website. They're now building out a lot more front end capability for us. So yeah, in that sense, that's good. So I think agency wise, we've got 3 third parties, a core team of 14. We're looking to add someone in the Farcaster space, 2 in mini apps probably. So probably end up at 16, 17 ish with third parties involved.
Very nice. I think I don't know if this is for you from Frankie. How's Andy?
Andy, we've kind of wound things down with. Yeah, just the insights in Asia were good, but again, a 3 or 4 month stint of understanding where the market's at, we just felt very comfortable that we were doing everything that we needed to do. So Andy's still a part of the team when required, but he's not an active day-to-day advisor in the business.
You've been everywhere, man. You went to South Korea, Dubai, Portugal. What's next on the flight itinerary?
Amsterdam, obviously, tomorrow.
When are you coming to New York?
Yeah. Well, I need to because Jed's there as well. So I need to come over, go to his steakhouse. That's for sure. There's Base Summit coming up, which I think is an invite only, which hopefully get the nod on, which would be amazing. But yeah, definitely be heading back to US this year. Obviously, Asia kicks off kind of back end of Q3. I think the market should be nicely warmed up by then.
Yeah, I think maybe Q4 you get the rate cuts coming in, and we'll get hopefully get a nice market and take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think it generally will revolve around that. I think by then, God, we would be into that would be completing in October our 3rd year, so which is mental, really. So yeah, I think we'll be coming into a nice back end of the year, all going well. But this market tends to throw up some surprises, doesn't it? So yeah, but we're ready to go full throttle when required. It's just that we want this to be up and high and to the right as much as everyone else does, but we have a duty of care to make sure that we're around when others fail, and I think we're doing a good job on that front. And I know it's very conservative sometimes, but it's at the end of the day, I want this to be something we all look back on, not something that we tried and pushed hard at the wrong point. And you're never going to get it perfect, but I think we're doing all right.
You can't control the market. What you can control is putting in the work and the time and the networking, and you guys have done that above and beyond. I met Jesse Pollock at a Base event, I think back in January. I think it was right after you guys migrated to Base, and I went there representing Chuck. Got my picture with him. I talked to him for like 5 minutes. I mentioned you guys. I said, have you heard of Mcade? It's recently migrated over to Base, and he said he hadn't heard of it yet. And to me, now fast forward, months later, and he bought 60% of your first Zora drop. I saw that. You guys minted content. You coined content. He bought 60% of that drop. You guys are partnered with Coinbase. How much you guys have grown in this short amount of time is amazing. And I think you guys will be really well positioned once the market ticks up. You're ready. And I think there are good things to come.
Yeah, I would agree. I have to keep my feet on the ground in it. And I think what we're realizing now is we have to move more to the front end and start building reach and audience. We've built enough infrastructure. We've got the chain coming. I think if you asked me a year ago, would we end up with our own chain, our own apps, and our own team ready to go, and still be in a good position in the market, I probably would have bitten your hand off, to be honest. So it's working out well. I'm sure there'll be some twists and turns in the whole thing. That's the nature of this business. But I'll be honest with you, we're getting more calmer and we're starting to enjoy it. Which it certainly hasn't been an enjoyable experience for the lion's share of it. But I'm definitely getting calmer and more comfortable with the potential outcome now. I think that's a good sign, because I see it in everyone else in the team as well. We've done the hard yards now, so that's not to be confused with complacency, because next week we'll show you we've still got a work ethic like anyone else. But it's been great. I'm really hoping it's something we can all collectively look back on and go, yeah, that was a real, let's face it, it's a public diary, isn't it? So
and I was going to say, I was thinking, of today, I hope you're enjoying the journey, because, it's fast paced and it's a lot of work, but it's a time in your life, I think, that you're going to look back on as something special.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, the whole relationship with communities changed so much over the 2.5 years. Like now, if certain scenarios had occurred where the price had dropped over a weekend, or you guys know it, you've seen it as well. It's like there's an immediate reach for blame or to point the finger. Everyone in our group has matured through this process, like me included, and to see now what the reaction. I think the calming is coming from the fact that I'm worried what the community thinks half the time, and I go into the group like dreading it sometimes, and it's harmony. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. We've seen this 100 times before. Now just buy the dip and crack on, So
everyone's used to getting wrecked. This market has conditioned everyone.
And we've got, and I think a few have made the mistake of jumping out, trying to catch a shooting star, realize that's not the way forward, and have come back anyway. So there's some stories, I'm sure, and I'll hear some of them on Thursday as well.
Yeah. I take about an hour of your time. Before we go, we always get this question. I'm sure you get it all the time about listings. I don't, if you want to say it for the 1,000th time, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Well, we've got a new bingo card in our group now. I think that's already done. I think we've already hit bingo on that one. So I've actually commented on this yesterday. So the listing side of things, at the kind of the higher tier, the top 5, top 10, which we've got a couple of that sit in that. Part of what we do when we go around the world is we do meet with the exchanges. We sit down, we talk about our plans. In the lion's share, we've done most of the due diligence, and we've passed all of the risk criterias and all of that for the more senior or tier 1, as they call it, exchanges. So the one thing I think is really important, and I said this yesterday, is we don't decide when we list with the top tier. The top tier tell us. So if gaming isn't trending and the volume isn't there and the fees aren't there to be made and it's not good business, Mcade isn't getting listed anywhere. If gaming kicks off or base kicks off, Mcade's at the front row of all of that, and they will message us, we'll sign NDAs, and we'll be activated. But I think the misconception is that as long as you've got money in your pocket, you can buy your way into these things. That's not the case. And exchanges are actually changing their approach and attitude. I spoke with two literally this week on Monday, just for a catch up, and they're now reducing their amount of listings per day, per week. I mean, one of them was listing like 3 a day. I was like, yeah, that's not sustainable. But they're moving to like 3 a week. They're refining their quality processes. There is a small sign that the exchange market is getting more professional and picking better listing partners, etc. But the fact remains is when money comes in and a narrative is trending, you will see gaming projects listing all over the place. Memes as well, RWA, AI. Right now, the energy's in AI, and really anything that comes out of virtuals, I'd imagine, along with a couple of sideline projects on base like Geyser and things like that. So you'll see those probably pick up listings quicker than us. That's not because we don't want them, but equally, it's an incredibly expensive thing to get wrong. Right?
Yeah.
We jump on an exchange at the size we are on a big exchange, and there's no drip down effect to volumes with us. The one thing I will say is BingX has kicked in for us in the last week. BitGet is definitely our champion in that sense. So our volumes are good, but we're still not of a size where I would feel comfortable saying, okay, if a tier one said yes tomorrow, I just don't think the market's there to take it on. And the more recent listings, again, you're seeing them tail off really fast. So I actually think that's bad for business, but it's not the answer people want.
Yeah, but I appreciate your honesty. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Uniswap's still your biggest, where the most volume is. Good, and the reason I say that, people are always like exchanges. Uniswap is still where the most Mcade volume is. Last time I checked, and Aerodrome was in the top 5 too, or not third. So it's still a lot of DEX volume, and exchange listings can be a little overrated, I think.
Yeah, because you've got to provide the liquidity. So like a mid-tier exchange, like I don't know if you've discussed this on your streams before, you're looking at 150 to 200 grand whole before. And the marketing tokens, I love that, is sell pressure. So yeah, I mean, add depth to your DEX or pursue a go-to-market or a sprint campaign. Probably going to get better results from your price and your token by that. But again, as soon as you get picked up by a tier one, the others follow because they want the volume, and you end up not paying much. And I do think come September with the upgrades, there's probably, let's face it, even if you don't get listed on Coinbase, you're inside the app, and if you do a good job with your project, it's the nearest thing you're going to get to it. And again, I'm not sure people have fully grasped that yet, because for me, you're inside an app where you can transact with base projects without leaving, and it's all account abstraction. Like, that's as good as being a top 100 listed on Coinbase. Obviously, everyone wants that, but if you don't get it, that's not a bad second place.
Yeah. This cycle is definitely different from last cycle, where everyone was pining for exchanges. Now the ease of access is totally changed the game.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And even in Europe, I've noticed the guys, particularly the Dutch guys, are talking about Bitvarvo. They're like a top European exchange, but right now there's a whole compliance piece pushing through with MiCA. So you have to write a white paper with your lawyers, and you have to present a legal pack now with your token. And the compliance and the regulation in Europe is kicking in, and you have to have a white paper and you have to be compliant with lawyers to get anywhere near it. And again, we've done all that. So just because we're not coming out with a listing announcement doesn't mean all the hard work hasn't already been done, because it has, because we like to get these things squared off. But we don't control the timing of these things. So that's another version of the answer.
I like it, but it's an honest and transparent answer, and I think that's why people appreciate you. So I want to be mindful of your time. You've been on for an hour. Your kids are sleeping. You got to go to Amsterdam tomorrow. So, Ron, you got any final thoughts or questions here?
Yeah, I got two real quick. I just want to drag this on. Danny mentioned Jamie King a little bit, and I had it written down to bring him up too. Is with having somebody like that as an advisor who has ties to the real life gaming world, is that potentially something that could be a goal for this cycle for Mcade to be integrated in some kind of real world gaming on another console, or is that something maybe down the road next cycle or something?
I believe it's the next cycle, or the outcome of what happens after this cycle, because of the nature of what we have. It isn't anything new in terms of what the market already has. What Jamie has done, and this is where I'd say his biggest value is he's scaled businesses way beyond anything I've scaled before. So we're looking at expanding here, we're looking at doing this. That's where the value has come from, is that kind of steering of, yes, we need to be agile, yes, we need to pivot. In terms of, I mean, the community love the whole GTA 6 thing and everything. I don't see anyone achieving that. The nearest project I see having genuine, this is the other way around. If the deal is what I think it is with World of World and Samsung, then World of World ends up on every smart TV.
Wow.
Like, and they have that deal in place. They're at Gamescom last year. They're in the Samsung event stands. Like, if that distribution plays out and they do what they were planning to do, they're a front runner to proving that someone can step into the mainstream. I haven't seen anything to suggest anyone else can do it. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it has to happen. I'll be honest. I think if you have really strong distribution into your product, which is, I harp on again about the Coinbase app, but if you have a sunroof opening and a number of new participants coming in, and you're one of the first things they see, you win. And then post-cycle, you're in a much stronger position to make some decisions about, do you spread out? Do you go after the mainstream? Do you become, I don't know, a more legitimate studio orientated? Do you become a publisher, whatever? But again, I mean, if you really look at the gaming industry, it's not in the best shape either outside of Web3. So yeah, I think everyone's chasing that unicorn. I'm not sure it's the thing to chase in this cycle. It sounds good. Definitely, it's a good narrative to spin, but it's not our intent.
Well, if there was anything there, I'll ask you that, and maybe pause or stutter or something like that. So everybody listening, I tried to get it out of them if there was anything there, but you know.
Yeah, I just see. Put it this way: if one of the biggest industries in the world, and just because we have ownership rights over what we do and what we do, we collectively still think that's enough to poke the bear and get into the industry. It's in my opinion, it's way off. And I think anyone that's chasing that, I mean, I'd love them to succeed, but I look at off the grid and I look at the 14-15 mil spent on creators over that first launch campaign. I mean, at 15 mil, you can definitely buy players and influencers, that's for sure. But the numbers tailed off, and there's murmurings that they're struggling a bit now. Like, and if that type of game can't break through, then name a title that can, you know.
Yeah, it's not easy to.
I think it's a red herring, because I don't think we're trusting in the fact that we are what we are, and we have an audience of a particular demographic, and you need to build products for that audience. If you build really cool gaming products and there's no players, what's the point?
Yeah,
that's like the really honest appraisal of it. I love funnels and distribution. I'm a geek like that, and when a load of Coinbase users come in and start playing with base projects, it's all going to go off. And that's fantastic. And they promised it and they're delivering it. And I'm very pleased that they have that level of conviction, because I also don't see other chains building distribution channels like they are. So,
are there any other projects on base that you see as, you know, competition or doing what you're doing?
I wouldn't say it's competition. Right. I think there's lots of individual games being built, which naturally they would become partners, or we're working on becoming partners with them. I like games like Foxaria that are, I can imagine Chuck as a character in there. Max has just been put in there as a skin. And I think that's you can see that as soon as the IP is jumping into other people's products, there's a win there for everyone involved. But again, I mean, I would say we typically sit in that competitive field of your Vulcan Forges, your Galas, your, dare I say it, your Knackers and things like that. But I look around, I don't see much innovation going on in that infrastructure part. GameSwift was like a really big, like, oh, they're going to destroy you. But the problem is, if you run a node model, you need players. And if there's no players, your node model fails. So it's a single point of failure as a utility. I love G3. I think they're brilliant for the industry, and they deserve much better token appreciation than they see. They have hundreds of thousands of people hit their site every month. There's no rationale to it sometimes.
Yeah. Ron, any last comments?
No, we kept Russ up long enough. We need to.
Oh, the problem is I could go for another hour, you know.
Any last words from you, Russ?
No, just again, I appreciate catching up with you guys. next week's going to be one of the weeks in our history, I believe, and I'm going to be doing probably a live on Sunday just to go through the finer details of everything. And excuse me, we'll probably have revealed a lot more by then. But there'll be spaces all week. I've got a couple of interviews. There's going to be loads of stuff coming out. It'll be drip fed, which will frustrate some. But next week is when it all goes off. And looking forward to seeing what comes of it, really. And we'll see what happens. But if we execute, it will go very well. And it starts a new chapter for us. And I think that, coupled with a market potentially starting to become lukewarm, maybe, it could bode well for us.
The only thing that's a bigger tease than you is this market.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This honestly, this market's played havoc with me as well, and I've had it together for most of it, but sometimes I'm like, there is no rhyme or reason to this thing. I've had to overcome the fact that it doesn't matter what you build and what quality it is, that there's no correlation to your price. I mean, you've got to play, you've got to run two businesses in this game to really achieve. And we are running business A and business B most days just to keep moving forward. And I also don't think people grasp, if you build something, it doesn't mean they're going to come and things are going to move for you. It's such a complex business to run, but we're getting there. But I think next week helps us refine a lot, and I think the vision becomes very clear.
Stay tuned, everybody. Next week, Drop Zone coming out. Tune in to all of the spaces, the interviews, get all the alpha, and then following next Tuesday, right? You said?
Yes.
Next Tuesday, and I'm going to be copping some Drop Zone NFTs. Looking forward to it. Ron, thanks for coming on and joining as always. Russ, appreciate you and the time that you put in. Have fun in Amsterdam. Wish I could join you.
We'll be there in spirit. I'll video call you, mate, when I get there.
No, you won't.
I can't believe I got to step out and do a spaces halfway through as well. It's like, oh God.
Never stops, man. The work never stops.
It doesn't.
Have fun. Thanks to everyone from the community tuning in. We had a good crowd. We will catch you guys in the next one.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.